just trickle in and find their places in the back. Just out of introduction, my name is Brian Richardson. I'm the Assistant Director for Career Engagement at the Hart Career Center. That's really a fancy way of saying that I coordinate our internship program here on campus. I also help coordinate our career fair that will be this upcoming Monday from 4 to 6. And so we've been really working with our employers who, by the way, are extremely excited to meet each and every single one of you. So I'm so glad that you came today to really prepare for the fair. Just like any outreach that you would do with an employer, whether it would be an interview, whether it would be just preparing just to connect with employers, it's always good to have that preparation. So kudos to you for coming and attending the session today. I typically am not a note reader from during presentations, but I wrote down some notes just so that I won't forget anything. So if you have any particular questions as well throughout the presentation, you can ask those as you will, because there will be a lot of different things that I will cover in that presentation. And also while we're here, I have some colleagues in the room. If you want to go ahead just to introduce yourself to the students so that they'll be aware of who you are, and also student staff as well.
Great. My name is Michelle Darnell. I am the Pre-Health and Biology Career Advisor.
Hi, I'm Nicole Bogendorf, and I'm the Assistant Director for Career Development in the Career Center.
Hello, I'm a research assistant at the Hart Career Center.
Perfect. Thank you. They will also be at the fair as well, so if you need any type of assistance, you can get one of us to be able to do that, and we'll talk about some tips for during the fair. So today's session, we're just going to focus on specific items and specific tips for you to be successful at whichever career fair you go to. Ideally, we are focusing on our career fair, but I do want to make mention that on October 2nd, our students from Illinois Wesleyan have also been invited to attend ISU's career fair, which is from 4 to 7 at the Redbird Arena. So you basically in 2 days have the ability to connect with over 70 employees at our fair and over 140 employers at ISU's fair. So that is the perfect opportunity to get in front of employers and connect with them. So we want you to be able to take advantage of those particular things. So at basis, what is a career fair? A career fair really is a forum or a place that allows you to begin to connect with employers at the same time. The reason why that's important is because on their agenda, they already have set that day on their calendar where they have prepared opportunities for you to take advantage of. They have information available for you to be able to understand who they are, who their company is, what they represent. And whenever you have the ability to connect with someone that is on the same wavelength as you, so to speak, that's the best place and that's the perfect opportunity for you to make that connection. So that we have really set the stage for you to really shine. We really want to put you in the best position to be successful in your journey, in your career path. And so we want to make sure that you understand that that's what this is about. They want to connect with you. I always say and tell students that employers want to talk to you more than you want to talk to them. And they're so eager to talk to you. I mean, they might talk to me here and there, but they want to talk to you really. So they want to connect with you. So that's that forum. It's also an opportunity for an exchange of information. So on one hand, they have opportunities that are available for you, but on the other hand, you have some information about yourself that they want to know about you. So a part of that preparation for the career fair is thinking about, okay, what do I want employers to know about me? And we'll talk about some specific things that can help you guide you in that particular area. But just think of that. They have information available for you. You have information available for them. So all the career fair is doing is putting the stage for you to exchange that information throughout that particular time. So why do employers come to the career fair? What is their primary goal? Number one, they want to make sure that you are aware of their brands. Why is that important? Because there's so much competition in the marketplace. And whether you believe it or not, employers are thinking and strategizing about how to best connect with you and how to best suit you as a future or potential candidate. So they are strategizing, they are making meetings, they are traveling all around the country. They're doing all types of things just so that you are at the forefront of their thinking, and that their brands is at the forefront of your thinking as well. So they use that as an opportunity, one, to be able to share their brand awareness and information about their company with you. So if you know these things in advance, it would be wise of you to think about in your strategy with employers, what does their brand represent? Who are they as employers? You want to know these things as you do some of your research about these employers, but you want to be aware if that's what they're thinking about as well. They also are looking to identify potential candidates. So they may have positions that are available currently. They may have future positions that may be available next semester. They may have things that may be available during the summer. So they have in mind the things that they need to fill, and so they're just waiting for that right candidate to come along and to be able to gather that information, and so that they can pass that along to whoever. So if they're a recruiter, they may pass it along to another department, or they may handle that within their department. But they're looking to identify potential candidates for specific positions. And just to mention, during our fair, we have asked employers to bring positions in relations to internships, full-time opportunities, and volunteer opportunities. So just keep some of those things in mind as you're navigating the space. There will be some information not only online, but when you arrive at the fair, there will also be some information to show you what the employers have brought, whether it's volunteer opportunities, whether it's internships or full-time opportunities. They also want to show their interest and support for IWU. You will be amazed at the number of employers that really enjoy not only connecting with our students, but they have an appreciation of the education that you receive. Just think about that in relation to what you have to offer. So they already assume that all the things that come along with the Illinois Wesleyan brand is attached to you. So automatically you have a boost before you even connect with the employer. All you're really doing now is just putting the icing on the cake, so to speak. So you're just accentuating who you are as an individual on top of the branding, and on top of the image, and on top of the things that employers already know about the university. This year we have many employers that are returning again, and they've been with us for years and years. But this year we also have some new employers that have not been to our fair in the past. And so this is also an excellent opportunity to continue to perpetuate the Illinois Wesleyan brand and the education that you're receiving at this institution. So those are the main reasons, so to speak, that employers attend the fair. Now, why should you attend the fair? Well, if you're here, I'm already assuming that you're going to be at the fair. But let me just share with you some reasons why you should, or if you have a friend that is on the fence about should I go, should I not go, go ahead, take them off of the fence and lead them with you with some of these things here. To learn more about career opportunities with employers. So it's an opportunity to say, okay, here's the job description that I've seen either online, I've seen in Handshake, which is our online database, or I've seen somewhere. It gives you an opportunity to ask a little bit more about what is this about? What does this entail? What types of things do a person in this position do? So it gives you an opportunity to dig a little bit further into certain opportunities so that you can put yourself in the best position to be successful and to be a candidate that lines up to what they're looking for. It's also the opportunity for you to gather more information. So I would encourage you, and we'll talk about this a little later, but I would encourage you to make sure you're looking to say, these are the type of internships that really interest me. Now, whether you fully qualify for those opportunities, like for example, for our first year students, a lot of times employers are wanting you maybe to get a little bit more experience, but it's good for you to understand those particular positions because you want to position yourself, whether it's sophomore year, whether it's junior year, whether it's senior year, so that you can capitalize off of those opportunities. But at the same time, there are wonderful volunteer opportunities that are available to freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. So you can begin to think about, okay, I should gather this experience in order to prepare for this experience, in order to prepare for this experience. And a part of that is that planning, that road mapping, that ability not to look back your senior year and say, oh, I wish I would have did this, or I wish I would have did that. But this gives you an opportunity to get information so you can chart that journey so that you can be prepared for those really competitive opportunities, whether it's an internship or a full-time opportunity. It's also very important. This is in my mind, one of the most important reasons why you will want to attend a career fair. For the ability to connect with employers and the ability to network. Most jobs that you will ever get post-grad usually come out from word of mouth or from a connection that you know. And the more connections that you have, the more potential you will have to be successful in capturing opportunities. So this is the perfect chance for you to get before employers and say who you are, what you represent, and get their information as well, and just keep some correspondence with them. You just never know down the road where a connection can open the door to something else. Or you never know. You might have a friend that may be looking for an opportunity, and you can say, wait a minute, I connected with such and such from XYZ organization at the career fair, and they're looking for this. You will probably be perfect for that. So you can also be a conduit, if you will, for other students and other individuals to make connections. Because in networking, and I know sometimes that term has been used very loosely and been used all over the place, but it's really just about making connections and being very vested and interested in people around you. That's the way that you truly become successful in whatever venture you pursue. And so when you're able to get the practice of doing that, when you're able to go up to a complete stranger and introduce yourself and ask about certain things, when you're able to practice those things, you can become more seasoned down the line when maybe at some point in time you will have an event when you're working in your professional role and you have to go somewhere. You already be polished because you say, I did this already. I've connected with people before. I know how to do homework and to discover who they are. So it allows you to practice some of those tools and tips along the way. So this is kind of what a typical career fair looks like if you hadn't been there before. They always kind of maybe arranged a little differently, but each employer has a booth set up, and they will have information about their firm, information about positions, and if you can kind of see, no employer really is standing behind the table, right? They're not standing kind of waiting for you to come and mosey over. They're out there trying to grab you, so to speak, and shake your hand and talk to you and connect with you. So that just shows you the passion that the employers have to really connect with you. But keeping that in mind, you'll be able to navigate throughout the fair at different areas. And so there may be some employers that you've already predetermined, I have to talk to this person, I have to talk to this employer, I have to connect with this brand. But along the way, you'll be able to connect with maybe some other employers that you didn't see or you might not have known about. That's also an opportunity for you to connect with them as well, to get familiar with some things that you may not be familiar with already. And so that's kind of the typical lay of the land for you during the career fair. So who will be there? So let's just for a moment, I just want to show everyone just this site real quick. Our Career Center website if you go to our Hart Career Center website, there's a tab at the top for career fairs. And if you click the fall career fair, you could see down there, there's an actual list here of attending employers. And this information here has the representative that will be there, whether it's full-time positions, whether they have internship. And there's a little star next to their name. That star really represents if they offer ongoing volunteer opportunities. So you can look through that list and say, wait a minute, I want to volunteer in this sector or this industry, and you can mark some of those things down. But I want to encourage you to go through this list and do your homework, so to speak. Look at these different organizations. Check out their website. All these website locations are clickable, so you don't even have to Google and figure out which is the right website. It's already, that homework has already been done for you because we want you to be successful. We also have this same form on our Handshake platform on the Fall Career Fair event site. So you can also click there to find out more information, to do your homework, so to speak, and to be able to be prepared for that presentation. So I just wanted to show you where that was. We also, if you go to ISU's Career Center website, they also have a listing of employers that will be at their fair as well. So you can do that, and you can compare to see, okay, who's going to be at our fair is the same employer is going to be at the other fair. So you can kind of see, okay, if I'm going to both fairs, I can utilize my time the best way in order to connect with the right type of employers. We have noticed that there are some students who look at certain organizations and wonder, does my major fit? Do they have opportunities for my major? That's a part of your research when you're talking to the employers, because they may have opportunities that might not be obvious to you. So you might have a local nonprofit organization that does some type of service work, but they may need an accountant. They may need a writer, a grant writer, English writer. They may need something that you might not be thinking about, but it's on you to be able to ask some of those questions, to dig a little further. Because remember, as you're building your resume, as you're building your path in the career field, you want to begin to get a diverse amount of experiences so that when you're competing for different positions, you will be competitive in that particular nature. So here's a couple things that we're going to just go over individually, and I know I might have some more questions as we go into these things. What should you wear? We're going to talk about that, and there's some information here that you can see afterwards to show you some details on some things. What types of things that should you bring? Resume, should you bring, how many resumes should you bring? Should you bring this, that, and the other? So you want to make sure that you're bringing the right materials to be prepared. How do you prepare? I've been talking about preparation the whole time, but we'll go over some of those things. And then what to expect, some specific details on what to expect. So, under door number 1, what to wear. Think about this. You have only a few moments to make a good impression. You want to be cognizant of the fact that you will be before individuals from different backgrounds, from different demographics, from different places in the company. So sometimes you'll be in front of a recruiter. Sometimes you'll be in front of an alum who may be in a senior position who just loves Illinois Wesleyan so much that they want to come and represent their firm. So you just never know who you're going to run into. So you always want to be aware of the fact that you are presenting yourself 24/7. So always think that eyes are on you, watching you, whether you think someone is watching you or not. So you want to be dressed in the format as if you were going to an interview. So during an interview, you will come and you will dress professionally, business professional. And I have, out of my norm, I have decided to wear more of a business professional suit with more conservative colors, so that you will be, your dress will be as conservative as possible. So you want to be able to wear like a black or a navy blue suit. Nothing too loud, nothing that will shout out, that will distract employers. This is not the time to go on the fashion journey and do certain trends. And there's some times where people want to wear, or some of the gentlemen may want to wear ties that have very, very elaborate knots, which I'm all for. I love it. I really love it. I really do. But at the fair, you don't want that to be a distraction where they're talking more about your tie than the opportunity that's available, or talking about other things. And you don't want to stand out in a negative way either. You want employers to really not to get any kind of negative tone. So you want to make sure that everything is coordinated. Dress shoes, make sure everything is neat, make sure everything is polished. Ask folks to look and just check your friends. Just say, is everything okay? Make sure you don't have any tags on. I remember one time, and maybe I shouldn't tell this story, but one time I had a suit and it still had the tag on the arm, and I thought that was a part of the suit. I was like, wow, it got a brand there. That's not the brand. You need to remove that. So you want to make sure that information, everything is straight. And when you come to the check-in table, one of our staff members, Michelle, will also be there. And just ask Michelle, is everything all right before I walk in here? Do I have the collar straight? Is everything, the hair is okay? Make sure you're trimmed, manicured. Please, this might seem like a small thing, but if you have like really, really long nails that if you shake somebody's hand that's going to get into the skin, just trim that, because you don't want to be able to, you don't want to have that as a negative impression. So you just want to make sure that everything is together there. And as I mentioned, there's a difference between business professional and business casual. So you may see other events where they may ask you to dress business casual as opposed to business professional. Remember, this is more like an interview. An opportunity may spring right from this moment. So you want to be in interview mode. So you want to err on the side of business professional. And I won't get into maybe specific details, but there's some information on each one of these as far as, for the ladies, what length of the dress should be, and all those types of things are on there. So I won't get into those many details, but just so you know that you will want to be professional. So plan over the weekend, if you need to grab another shirt that's a little more conservative or a different type of tie, you want to make sure that your socks for gentlemen matches with the belt. I cheated a little bit today. I couldn't go fully all the way, but just make sure some of those things are available for you. So any questions about dress or what to wear? Perfect. So what should you bring? Of course, you want to make sure that you bring plenty of copies of your resume. So once you've identified beforehand which employers that you want to visit, make sure you at least have enough copies for them, but you always want to make sure that you have extra copies of your resume. And you can come to the Career Center on Monday, or not the weekend because we'll be closed, but today later on, or Monday, to make sure that you print your resume on professional paper. We have professional resume paper available for you to be able to come and do that. So you want to make sure that you have those things prepared. Don't expect to come to the fair and we make you copies. We're at the Hart Center. Maybe sometime in the future we'll probably have those capabilities, but for now we want to make sure that you're aware ahead of time that the materials that you need to be already prepared. You also want to have a portfolio or a nice folder. So you want to be able to carry that information around, not just sheets of paper that can bend and maybe you shook somebody's hand and it's a little sweaty and now your paper's all wet. These things happen. Or maybe you've got a drink of water or something, maybe spilled a little bit. You just want to make sure that you have something to protect your resumes and the information that you have there. You also will be receiving different pieces of information from the employer. So it's another place where you can put some of that information so you don't have a bag and some kind of gadget right here, and then you got your resumes here, and then you're trying to shake somebody's hand. It can get a little interesting. So you would just want to make sure that you're prepared so it won't be an awkward experience as you're meeting employers. You also want, this is really important, you also want to have your schedule or calendar. Most of the time you'll have your phone available, Why is this important? Because you can land the interview right at the fair, and you can pull out your phone and say, okay, I'm available at this time. When are you available? And they love that. I mean, they love for you to be proactive. They love for you to ask, what are the next steps? So how can I be competitive? You know, how can I be best prepared to apply or connect for this position? But you'll be able to have some of those things. I would say I use an app on my phone called Evernote. And I wasn't paid by the Evernote folks, so just so you know. But I use that app to store notes into my device so I can always go back. Because one of the things you want to do, and matter of fact, I had an employee yesterday that talked about the value and importance of following up. So if you meet an employer, make sure you get their business card and make sure you send a follow-up email to say, I just enjoyed our time together. But with your notes, you can say, you could talk about maybe something you talked about. So if that individual is a Cubs fan or a Cardinals fan, to keep the room balanced, you can bring that information out about that conversation, and that would also jar their memory as well. And you will be amazed at out of the number of students they may connect with over the time that they're here, they will really remember you because you followed up and you showed that initiative. So that's a good way to put your best foot forward. Once again, notes and also questions. Come with questions prepared. Come with questions about the position. Come with questions concerning what they do. Tell me about the culture of your company. Tell me about, can you tell me a little bit about your role? What do you do with the organization? You know, how did you get into the field? How did you get into the industry? So just prepare some of those questions the same way you will prepare for an interview, prepare for the fair with those things as well. Any quick questions here? I must be either doing really good or everybody's really confused. Am I doing good? Okay. So how do you prepare? Develop an effective, error-free resume. I'm sure many of you, I've seen you come in our office to get your resumes reviewed. We still have extended drop-in hours this afternoon from 1:30 to 3:30. So you can come and have your resume reviewed again. No typos, no spelling errors. Please don't try to print your resume at the last minute and maybe a formatting is off a little bit. Make sure you have those things prepared in advance so you can catch any kind of errors. Once again, research the organization, take notes, separate into maybe different interest categories. That's just a strategy. But just make sure that you are preparing in that way, just like I said, as you will prepare for an interview. Plan a 1-minute intro. This is what we will call our elevator pitch or elevator speech, however you want to term that. You always want to have an idea of where you want to land when you meet an employer as far as conversation. So of course you want to start off, my name is, and what your name is. You want to start out with your major as well. And then you want to begin to talk about really who you are, what strengths you bring to the table. So on a resume, typically, this is the skill set area. So either hard skills or soft skills. So I'm a hard worker, or I'm very organized, or I love leadership, or just talk about just a few of those things as what we call a value proposition. So name, major, then what value you bring to the organization. And then next, just flip it and start to talk about what the organization has to offer. So I've seen on your website, or I've seen in our program that you're offering a full-time position in this particular area. Could you tell me a little bit more about that? Because I'm really interested in applying for that position. But it's a conversation though. So don't think I'm coming to an employer, let me hurry up and get my elevator pitch out first, and then let them talk. Because sometimes they may want to interject and say something, but if it seems really rehearsed or canned, then it doesn't feel natural. So it's a conversation, but you want to think in your mind, this is where I want to lead, or this is where I want to go. And let it be a conversation. Let it be natural. The employers are people just like you. They're not robots. They're not computers. They're not smartphones. They want to interact with you. But you want to begin to have some of those things prepared, like an elevator pitch or something of that nature. Any questions about that? No? question? Wow. Okay. Could have sworn there was going to be some questions about that. Oh, there we go.
Would you want to talk about, like when you're doing your first introduction, would you talk about experience you have or just like skills that you have? Like if you've had a similar internship before, maybe, would you mention that?
And you can mention that as well. It's all about what kind of information you may want to get out of the employer. So say, for example, you had an internship, you're an accounting student, you had an accounting internship before, and you bring up the fact, well, I've had a XYZ accounting internship, and you may not want to mention the company or something like that, but you just say, hey, I had this experience and it was very enlightening for me. I just want to know the opportunity that you have available. Is it similar to this, or should I expect something different? Could you tell me a little bit more information about what you're offering? But that experience also is the same thing as adding value. So your experience is valuable. Your skill is valuable. So that area of name, major, value proposition can include experience. It can include also a skill as well. That was actually an excellent question. So you want to think about some of those things as well. If your resume already says that, then you will have that information available. Any other quick questions about it? All right. Review basic interview questions. So we have a system called Big Interview on our Hart Career Center website. In that platform, it has interview style questions for every industry that you can really think of. And you can review some of those particular questions as far as what they may ask you. So that's you really anticipating what they may ask you. A lot of times they're just sharing information about their opportunities or their company. But there are a number of employers that actually have interview slots ready to be filled at the fair. And there are several companies that will be interviewing on campus the following day. So wouldn't it be really nice to go to the fair, meet some employers, the next day get an interview and have an opportunity before the end of next week? Wouldn't it be fantastic? Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why you will want to prepare as if it is an interview, because you may be going to that next step. So you can review some of those things on our platform, Big Interview. Of course, develop a list of questions to ask. We talked about that. Throughout your research, you'll be able to see some of those things that you will want to ask and prepare for employers. This is something that we need to discuss. While you're at the fair, make sure that your name tag is at the right. One of the reasons why we normally do that, and I feel like I'm leaving out our left-handed folks when I say this. I'm sorry, Michelle. And it can be a judgment call for you. But the whole idea is when you shake someone's hand and they're right-handed, they should be able to see in the line of sight your name when they're doing that. So for left-handed folks, I think, so I hadn't explored that until I just saw you, Michelle, so maybe I need to do some more research on that.
I still shake with my right.
Okay. Just want to make sure there. But you want to make sure that is extended so that that information is there. When you do come to the fair, we'll have label printers, so it will you'll have a name tag with your name and your major on that form. So you will have a uniform tag there so that employees can be able to see that information. But that's a small detail, but it's very important. You also want to do a little practice because sometimes it can be a little nervous when you first get there and you see, over 70 employers and everybody's waiting to connect with you. And so what I normally do, and I advise students to do, is maybe there's a couple of employers that you didn't have in your top 5 or your top 10 that you wanted to visit, but you still wanted to know a little bit more information about their organization. So you can spend some time maybe connecting with them, not connecting with friends. That's not the way to break the ice. You want to connect with employers so that you can feel comfortable, so that all of your vocabulary is getting out, so that if you need to have a drink of water before you meet some more employers, that you can get your palate nice and wet there, so you won't be running into any issues that come from being nervous. So you just want to be able to do that, get warmed up, get in the atmosphere, get excited like the employers are, and then you can be able to connect with employers after that. So that will give you an opportunity to practice. Once again, introduce yourself first, and then have your resume ready and available during that particular time, so you'll be able to introduce yourself and then be able to connect and talk a little further about that. Ask questions, take notes during that particular time. So once again, Evernote app or any kind of device or which you may have, or you may have a little some note paper maybe in the portfolio or folder where you kind of do some of those things. But just make sure that you're taking adequate notes. And then before you leave with the recruiter or leave the table with an employer, make sure you ask, what are the next steps? What are some things that I should do? What are some things I should prepare for? What is the next step in the application process? Just make sure that you leave the table knowing what you need to do next. You don't want to just assume. You want to make sure that you know that you know that you know that you know what you need to do. Okay? So you want to do that in preparation, because it's easy to say, especially if you're nervous, you get through it. Oh, I didn't mess up on my elevator pitch. Oh, I found out more about the organization. You're so happy you just walk away. No. Make sure you seal the deal and see what may be some next steps there in order to do that. So you also want to make sure that you grab business cards, and not sometimes write notes even on the back of business cards, because sometimes there might be 3 or 4 employers at one table, and you're trying to remember which representative did I talk to. I'm trying to remember that person's name. So you can write down information on the back of business cards as well, so you can have some notes there. So tips for success: demonstrate confidence. Once again, confidence comes by preparation. Confidence comes by practice. Confidence comes by being ready and prepared by appearance and all those types of things. Make sure that you demonstrate interest and enthusiasm. Don't go up to the table and say, "Oh yeah, I heard about your organization. I hear about it all the time. The Career Center sends me emails all the time about your organization. I heard about." You want to make sure that it's like you've seen it for the first time almost. "Oh, I've heard so many good things about your organization. I was just so eager." You want to make sure that you're showing that enthusiasm. If that means you maybe need to take a little nap before the fair, so you might be coming from a class and the class got your head kind of spinning a little bit. Don't just walk in the fair spinning. Get yourself together, get your bearings together, come enthusiastic and those types of things. You also want to market yourself, but don't overdo it though. If you had some internship experience in a particular field, don't come across like you were the number one in the country and number one in the world, and those types of things like that. Even if you were, you want to be as conservative and as modest as possible, but you want to know what you bring to the table at the same time. So there's a fine line there, but you want to just make sure that you're presenting your facts straight and not just going overboard. And you would know when it's overboard when you tell your friend about it and they look like, that might be a little too much. Or, you might tell one of us and we'll let you know. We'll keep it real with you. Dress and act professionally at all times. Once again, whether you're at the fair, whether you have to slip and go to the restroom, always presenting yourself professionally, because employers will be all around that area. So you want to make sure that you're aware that you're always being interviewed. And display knowledge of yourself in the industry as well. Once again, preparation that prepares you to be able to do that from that particular vantage point. These are some things not to do because we don't want you to feel awkward or make someone else feel awkward by overcrowding the student in front of you. So if there's a student right at the table, don't be right up on the student and they can feel you breathing on the back of their neck. Don't do that. You want to make sure that you're giving them their personal space, whether you have to step to the side whether you have to say, okay, let me just navigate, because you don't want another student to do that to you as well. So we want to make sure that we have some common ground with that. Don't walk around in groups with your buddies. That's intimidating to recruiters. That's intimidating to other students, because other students looking like, I don't have no crew, they got a crew. You know, you want to make sure that you're not coming across that particular way at a career fair. You know, it's about what you bring to the table, not what your whole group. Now, if y'all come to the fair as a group, that's fine. But when we at the door, it's you and it's me and it's everybody else. So you want to make sure you're presenting yourself in that fashion during the fair. Don't be unprofessional once again. You know, don't talk about another recruiter around at the fair, because you don't know if they're connected, or don't badmouth another company, even if the recruiter, even if it was a little rough experience. Don't say, well, you're so much better than this recruiter because they did this and you do this. No, everybody show everybody love. This is a time to demonstrate and show folks love and show folks appreciation. So you want to remember some of those things. Don't grab freebies right away. So, go ahead.
You said that you like to take notes like on your phone. Does
Yep.
that ever come across as unprofessional to the person you're talking to?
Not necessarily. Sometimes what you want to do is just, you want to make sure that, like, for example, what I would do, I said, I have some notes that I just want to take just to make sure that, you know, that it's okay with that recruiter. But what I would do probably is mark it in your mind, and then as soon as you step away, then spend the bulk of your time kind of doing that. Don't try to jot down every single word that they're saying and that type of thing and say, wait a minute, could you stop? I just got to get, you know, so you just want to make sure that you're doing that. But just think about it. Even when you're connecting with anybody, like if I was talking to you and you were on your phone at the time and you were just, you know, you would probably say, okay, let me make note of that. But just make sure you do that before you lose that information when you're connecting with employers. That was actually an excellent question, because I don't want students to say, well, you know, Brian told me I need to say everything. So don't grab freebies right away. So don't go to the table as if you're more concerned about the freebie than connecting with the person. No matter what kind of cool gadget they have. What if they're giving out iPhones? I'm not saying that anybody's giving out iPhones. But if they had the new iPhone on the table, you have to restrain yourself and say, well, hello, my name is Brian Richardson. I'm a such and such major. And then as you're leaving the table, there's the iPhone. So you want to make sure that you do that first, no matter how compelling the freebie may be. You also don't want to just pass out resumes. So don't go down the line and say here. You want to make sure that you're connecting with the employer. You want to make sure that they can put a face to the resume, that they can put a person to the resume, because you are your resume is just an extension of really who you are. It's the ability for an employer to put everything into perspective on one piece of paper, but you are the one that give life to the resume. So you want to remember that they want to connect with you, and they want to have your resume just as a reference for your skills and abilities and experiences, but you are the important individual. Yes?
I was just going to ask, when's a good time to like give them a resume? Like, do you do it like right after your introduction, or like at the very end before you leave? Or
well, right after your introduction. So matter of fact, you could say, my name is such and such. You know, I'm such and such major. So right in the midst of that introduction, you want to be ready and looking at how the interaction is going. So if they're reaching for it, then just make it natural. But don't like force you, like, I gotta make sure that during this time I gotta do that. You just want to make sure that those things are just as natural as possible. And if you have it handy, in their mind, they're expecting it anyway. But you just want to make sure that you get your introduction first, so that it's about the connection and not about the piece of paper. But then, of course, you don't want to leave the conversation as well without getting that resume as well. So once again, that's why it's important for you to have extra copies of your resume, because you know, if you miss an opportunity, then that's a missed opportunity. But if you're prepared, you won't miss any opportunities, and I don't want you to miss any opportunities there. Don't converse in front of a table with a friend or those types of things, being in the way of a recruiter connecting with another students. We're at the Shirk Center. There's plenty of space throughout the Shirk Center where if you need to get yourself together or you need to talk to someone, take that into a place where those conversations can be had and not interrupting another student getting the opportunity or interrupting an employer from connecting with a student. So you want to make sure that you are just connecting and sharing information there. After the fair, once again, send out a thank you communication. So whether that's whether that's a letter, whether that's a follow-up email, you just want to make sure that you have that communication ready. We have some forms actually at the Career Center in our library that talks about follow-up communication. You can stop by to get more information about that, on what that should look like. But it would look similar to after an interview when you would send any kind of professional communication to an employer, just connecting with them, just letting them know that you appreciate them, and there may be some follow-up steps, like you may have connected with the employer and say, you told me about this or that. So you just want to make sure that you're wrapping up that experience afterward. Did you have a question, or you just make sure your hair was good? Oh, good. Okay. These are like okay. So you also want to make sure that whatever you say that you're going to do, make sure you do it. So if you say you're going to apply, make sure you apply. If you're not going to apply, don't say you're going to apply. Just say, I'm very interested. But whenever you say something for an employer, they expect you to mean that. And you don't want your word to be different from your actions. So you always want your actions to line up with your word. That's integrity. So you want to make sure that you always are in integrity when you're communicating with employers, when you're completing certain actions for that. You also want to make sure you follow up to check on any status. So if you maybe apply, you go back and you apply for a position through Handshake or whatever means, maybe it's an external website, make sure you follow up later on just to say, hey, I applied, just wanted to double check. Because a lot of employers may be going to multiple schools. I mean, this is October. This is like recruitment mania. So they're going all over the country. So they may not get back to their office until maybe later that week or next week. And so maybe it takes them a little time. So don't be right on them, like a couple of days later, like we talked. I thought we made a good connection. I thought, we would, and you hadn't replied back. Don't take it the wrong way. Understand that they're busy, but you also want to make sure that you stay on top of what you have done. After accepting a particular offer and you have other things that you have applied for, have the courtesy of letting the other opportunities know that you want to withdraw your submission from that particular application process. That lets them know if you are a candidate that they've chosen. That lets them know that they can move in a different direction. You will want, of course, an employer to be the same way with you in that regard in communication. But you want to make sure that you're letting all parties that be aware of that. And this is a very important thing. Please let us know if you have any internship placements, if you have any jobs that you've secured, volunteer opportunities. Just let us know so that we can keep track of some of those things, but also so that if we need to update Handshake or update some of our other platforms, that we will be able to do that so that students also can be aware of some of those things. So, any specific questions as we wrap up this particular time? Yes.
I don't have a question, but just one additional comment on one of the slides you had about the firm handshake and the maintaining eye contact. Clearly, maintaining eye contact while you're having a conversation is very important. That firm handshake, and I say this particularly for women. I think sometimes as women we're not sure. I mean, we don't want a bone-crushing handshake, obviously, but we also don't want the little dainty, with your fingertips kind of a handshake. You want to have a firm handshake. Even as women, I think it's really important that you make that connection with the recruiters in that fashion. Yeah. So certainly both of those are certainly going to be very important elements as well.
Yeah. I'm going to say something there too. Same thing with men. I've had some gentlemen come to the Career Center and give me a handshake and about break my hand. I mean, just because I'm another man, that don't mean that I, bench press 300 pounds, Firm handshake, but not bone crushing, so just to be aware that even if you're with a recruiter and you might be an athlete, or you don't even have to be an athlete, but if you want to give a firm handshake that instills confidence, but at the same time, please no broken bones. I know we go down the street from Broman, but we don't want to have to use the services like that, so, yes.
I have two questions.
Mhm.
Is there a way to direct your employees to a handshake? Like, do they have access to it if they look at our name?
Well, most of the employers there already have an account on Handshake and are connected with us as a university. One of the things that as an office, what we're going to do, we're going to make sure that all of our employers that are there are connected with us. If they're connected with us, they automatically have access to the students. Now, part of that is your ability to make your profile public. So you want to make sure that your information is public so that the recruiters actually can find you within the system. So that's one of the keys for that particular area. And your second question?
Yeah. What was the time on Monday where we could come print on resume?
You can come anytime during the day to print on resume. Question?
Oh,
Oh.
comment.
Oh.
We had a couple students who came in at the end that didn't get signed in, so
Okay.
before they leave, just want to make sure they get signed in.
Yeah. But our office is open from 8 to, well, we're going to be, I would say about 8 to 3-ish. But the printer is in the back, so you can be able to do some of those things. We'll have some folks there, so you can be able to do that. Yes.
In your elevator pitch, should you, like, at the end say what you're looking for in, like, an internship or job?
Well, usually within, you will want to frame it in such a way to demonstrate what you're interested in. So part of it, you showing or you researching to see what opportunities they have. But you want to frame, I always say frame it in such a way where you make sure that you're showing what the value is before you do the ask, so to speak. So you want to make sure you're framing it that way. But yes, you want to highlight the fact of something that you may be interested in, but make sure you're adding that value with that as well. All right, well, thank you, everyone. These will be here so you can take some more detailed look at what the professional dress looks like. But thank you for coming. If you have any questions, reach out to us, email us, and we look forward to seeing you on Monday. So thanks for coming.